Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. I am with Yogi Chugh. Yogi is a consummate democratic insider. He knows a lot of things that's going on inside the party. He knows there's a lot of churn. There's a lot of soul searching going on. And we thought that we should have this as a series of conversations so that you, the viewer, also get to understand that whatever the Democrats projected at the time of elections is really not the Democratic Party. I mean, I was also a Democrat once. I was a registered Democrat when I became a citizen. Right. And then since then, now I've become independent. But that's okay. I mean, that just means that I'm going to vote based on issues and based on the personality. Yeah. So, first 2 weeks of Trump's presidency. Go.
As expected. He's a shock and awe president. He basically wants to come back and do everything in a hurry. You'll often hear the word promises made, promises kept.
Yeah.
Let's add one more component to this. This is not just Trump basically waking up every day and says, I'm going to come back and do executive actions. There's a reason for that. And it was interesting when I heard what Steve Bannon said, a week ago. And he's been a part of the president's inner thinking right from the first term. He lost favor, but he went out. He made one statement that was fascinating. He said, when you're in elected office, you have to do what's called muzzle velocity, M-U-Z-Z-L-E, velocity, a fascinating word. And what that means is that every day throw 2 or 3 things and make them such big issues that the last few things that you did, people forget about it, they start talking about this. What does that do? The press is supposed to be the keepers of truth. They're supposed to come back and hold an honest, real check on you. The press is most effective when they have focus. When they have focus, they can be relentless. They can do fact-checking. They can do everything. So every day something else comes out. What is he doing? He literally knows that if he doesn't do things by executive action, he has a razor-thin majority in the House. 3 members of Congress could change the outcome.
Yes.
He's got the Freedom Caucus. He's got those that are the people who hate spending.
Tea Party also.
But more so the Freedom Caucus. But their thinking is cut spending, and literally they're anathema to the Democratic Party that says spend, because you have to take care of that. So literally what he's doing is he knows that he cannot. His desire to have the American public look at him as a king is so important to him. If he had to go through Congress on these things, nothing would happen. He knows that the cuts that Elon is just going rogue on, and when I say rogue, I say respectfully, because he's going in and he's taking a sledgehammer, and he's coming back and saying, oh my God, what is going on? Now, Trump just has to convince the electorate one thing. I tried to do everything I promised, but I can't do it because I got to deal with the unions, I got to deal with this, I got to deal with that, I got to come back and deal with the courts that are coming and challenging me. This is what's wrong with America. And then what he's doing is he's elevating the story about the fact that Elon Musk and Doge one day finds $20 billion, they find $30 billion here. All the American public are recognizing, oh my God, look at the corruption, look at the expenditure in government. Now, a lot of this happened under the Republican watch and the Democratic watch, because remember one thing, a president may be head of state, a president may have executive power, but the appropriators are members of Congress. So if all this waste is happening, it happened with oversight, it happened from every member of Congress, committees had to approve this. So all of a sudden, why is it only the fault of the Democratic appropriators? Now, one can make the argument it's a Biden presidency. Well, there was an Obama presidency, there was a George Bush presidency, and I can assure you, all of the money that is being spent in the DoD, which is a $1 trillion budget, mind you, which has not passed an audit in 7 years. You could not determine a bolt you found that went to somewhere only because it has to hop so many procurement cycles and finally make it into a ship parked somewhere in the Indian Ocean. So the anathema of audit is impossible, but Trump doesn't care. All Trump wants to show is, I'm doing things, and here's where the Democrat machine is trying to come back. They're coming back and saying, we cannot let him become king, which is what Trump wants people to believe. Trump's orbit says that he has to be larger than life. The Democratic Party's resistance is coming back and saying, no, you have to hold line. Now, in the last few days, a few interesting things have happened. Congressman Khanna, he said something fascinating. He said, we're going to find ways. I'm positive. Before I came into Congress, I'm sure I'm the one who's talking about a bloated DOD budget and let's make cuts, right? But profoundly, this whole issue, this whole conversation, the Democratic Party is coming back and saying, they're cutting your Medicare, they're cutting your Social Security, they're trying to pit voters against voters. And everybody has an eye to the general midterm, right? So Trump is trying to normalize everybody to believe that I am doing all the right things. He's bullying every country. He bullied Mexico. He bullied Toronto, Canada. He bullied China, that didn't go too well. Then he brought in Netanyahu from Israel. Today, the Prime Minister of Japan showed up. Prime Minister Modi is coming in the next few days. He's already forcing every one of them to make changes.
Is he shock and awe? I get it.
No, he's not shock and awe. It's very profound. He believes in peace through strength, right? And when he believes in peace through strength, what he's simply doing is he's forcing people to come to the table. I'll give you an example. When he talks about removing the people of Gaza, right? One has to recognize that Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Iran have been supporters of Hamas and Hezbollah in a variety of different ways. The Houthis on one side, then you had Syria, all the complexities that come with it, right? So when he's saying, I'm going to go and build beautiful Gaza and make it like the, Europe, and I'm going to build beautiful hotels, do you think for one moment he really believes that he's going to send Trump Towers and Hilton hotels to go build beautiful hotels in the Las Vegas of the Middle East? No. He's forcing the Middle East partners to come back and say, for too long, presidents since Carter, Clinton, Obama, everybody's been trying to bring Israel and the Middle East to the table. We used to hear the name Yasser Arafat, right?
Yeah, Yasser Arafat, yeah.
Flash forward, you would hear about Rabin and the handshake. You'd hear about Anwar Sadat and the handshakes that have happened at Camp David. No solution, right? He's basically coming back. Everybody's going to say, no, it's not right. The rapporteur from the United Nations is going to say it's unjust and it's in genocide and it's removing civilizations from the face of the earth. No. The way I look at it, I don't like it. But he's telling all of them, come with a solution. Put your skin in the game. Iran, you want to get rid of Israel? Not going to happen. But in the end, come back with finding a solution for a country that has been devastated through the attacks by Israel because Hamas wouldn't release our hostages. We had American hostages there too, right?
Yes.
So here's what it is. And I don't think he's dumb, contrary to what people think. I think people say, oh, he's just, focused on this. I think that he's really focused on the fact that peace through strength and hitting tariffs on every nation is going to force everybody to come back and say, you know what? Export imports have to match. India is a net exporter. Canada and Mexico are large exporters. He's going to force everybody buy oil from me instead of buying from Russia. I would not be too surprised if he's going to say, India, you buy oil from Russia, buy them from me and sell it to Europe. I don't care. I'm telling you, he thinks the problem is we play checkers. He's playing four-dimensional chess. I'm sorry, I don't know how else.
Checkers versus four-dimensional chess.
It's just the reality. And he does shock and awe. And I'm telling you, at my party, what I tell them is, acknowledge the fact that there is waste. Let Elon do what he does best. Run some algorithms that only people like him are smart enough to run along with whatever his 6 sidekicks are, right? But let the Democratic Party come back and say, you know what? Thank God we found this. There is a lot of waste. And let's vote up and down on it. If somebody had to come back and say, I am going to support the waste that is happening, I guarantee you they're going to lose in their district. Up and down. Let's have good conversations about the DoD, Department of Defense. Why is our budget $1 trillion? Because the 5 primes run these bloated contracts. Why does a bolt for a plane end up costing $700 by the time you can go buy from Home Depot for $1? because of the procurement cycles. And buy primes. Open this up, right? The battlefield of the future is going to require us to build the best jets and the drones and the Iron Dome, which I am supporting of. America has to be the strongest nation in the world. When America is strong, I think the rest of the world becomes strong as a result of our generosity. Ukraine, right? Zelensky comes back and says, I haven't received 100 billion of the 123 billion that was offered to me, right?
177 or something.
No,
yeah.
I think we should be able to explain what happened to it. I really believe that's a legitimate question. It's a fair question. It's not only a question that an independent should act. I want that question answered because if I can find 100 billion, I can come back and tell my party, let's do the spending cuts, but let's come back and find agreement on the issues that we can agree upon, that education, per pupil spending has to be done in a way where we can send it back to the states rather than the Department of Education running an edict. And then let's make sure that America moves its position from now being last in the world back to where it was first for a long time. That's really the moment in time where I think the Democratic Party can either seize the moment, and I do think that it can, as long as we don't create this vilification of Trump and Elon, because that's not the problem with America today. We should not have tariffs imposed on us when we don't. When I hear about some of the tariffs that the U.S. is contemplating against India, okay, it's something that two people can talk through, right? And then the conversation can be, yeah, we'll take our immigrants that are illegal. Then we can talk about how do we ensure India's domination in the Indo-Pacific because the China hegemon, right? So much. So the first 2 weeks, it's shock and awe, muzzle velocity, get press to stop focusing, get alternative media to talk about waste, right? Of all the waste, there's some good that's been done as well, right? You know, USAID, as I knew it, was an extension of American statecraft. It was designed to help us articulate our concerns and deal with it in a manner that protected our interests. During those days, it was to protect the world from communism. So did USAID go into countries and create democratic institutions? Yes. Now, do I have an issue with activists in the United States going and funding activists in India to go and do whatever they're supposed to do? I have a problem with that. But I don't have a problem with activists in India, self-funded or funded by the Indian population, because that is the most valuable part. And you and I have talked about this. I said 1 billion people of India are going to take care of India just fine. They will give up on governments when they feel that that government doesn't represent them. Tonight or tomorrow, we'll find out the elections of Delhi.
Yeah.
It'll be a great opportunity to understand that are the voters of Delhi smart, or did they get caught in the imagination of freebies or socialist values? Or did they truly come back and say that the 2-engine Gadi will get them the prosperity that they have just been told, it's here, take it, take it, take it. What's happening in India is going to be exactly what the Democrats face here in the United States. You just call them different parties, but the mindset. But coming to the question about Trump, if he can cut, say, $200 billion from the Department of Defense budget, just hypothetically, it's $800 billion. That's a lot. $800 billion can do a lot of things, more than the GDP of half the world combined. You know what we can do with that $200 billion? Give it tax cut. We can give it a tax cut to the middle class. No taxes on overtime, no taxes on tips, no taxes on my dad's Social Security. What's wrong with that? Can't we find common ground? We can. I hope that after the shock and awe, and after everybody's vilified each other, that some sane heads can come together and say, let's find common ground. Let's bring manufacturing back from China. Let's rebuild our hollowed communities. You want to get rid of coal in America? You want to be responsible about the climate? We built economies around coal towns. We built economies around steel towns. When you take steel away and you take coal away because it's unpure and the climate change accord or Paris climate says we're going to be zero net carbon, What are we doing? We're hollowing out communities, but we're not taking opportunities to them. And then we're taking manufacturing to Vietnam. We're taking manufacturing to other parts of the world to put a check on China's hegemon. I think what you're going to find is Trump is going to say America first. But I think he's going to also come back and say, but you need to be for Japan first. And he's going to tell Prime Minister Modi, he won't tell Prime Minister Modi, I think he respects him a lot. He's going to say, you know what? Prime Minister Modi has to think about India first. Because I think as a human being, as a leader, he is passionate about India's rise in the world, right? So why can't we just find common ground? Let's take care of the tariffs. America gets this. And then when it does, Trump says three things, right? Every decision should be made to every one of his cabinet members on three basic things. Is it going to make America safe? Right? Is it going to make America strong? Is it going to make America prosperous? If every cabinet member has to make every decision based upon those three things, they're never going to lose favor with Trump. He'll never fire them. But if they don't, he's going to fire him. He said he is.
Very true. And I think this is a nice segue for us to go into the next topic, which is the USAID.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, Yogi. Viewers, please like and share this video amongst your friends. And I would really, really appreciate it if you can put in by way of comments what you think of this series, because Yogi and I have always planned to have these things. Somehow things kept slipping, but finally we said, no, we're going to sit down and have this conversation. And I'm very happy that we're having this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.